Hey guys, Tammy here, and in this video, we're going to talk about confronting the narcissist. Now, here's what we know about narcissists. They tend to stay where they're comfortable, which means people who are not confronting them, right? They want to be with people who tolerate them and who do not call them out on their issues. And so they stick more to those types of people. How can you deal with this post breakup? Because obviously there are certain things that you need to deal with, but also how can this maybe work in your favor? How can then confronting them or them being confronted by somebody else, how can those moments help you in your child custody situation? Let me just remind you, as always, if you like my content, please subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when new videos are released. And also hit like on this video if you like it. That helps me kind of figure out what things you like for me to talk about, what things are helpful to you. And as always, please feel free to share these on social media because the more people we reach, the more people we can help. When somebody confronts the narcissist, it's a very uncomfortable thing. Right? We know that we've been in a relationship with them and we know how we walk around on eggshells trying to keep from upsetting them. A lot of times trying to keep the children from upsetting them. This was something that was very, very true in my first marriage is, it would be like, oh, my ex came home from work and, oh, try to keep the kids quiet and make sure the kids are fed and, get everything done that you need to get done with the kids so that when he comes home, he can relax and we're not disrupting him or upsetting him or he doesn't get angry at the kids. Because if he does, he's likely to lash out at them or scream at them or be verbally abusive. We even actually had moments where, he would throw something across the room at them and it wouldn't actually, hit them. It would go above them, but it still was that like threat. It's like they know right where that line is of how far they can push it without getting into, too much trouble. And that's my ex-husband was infamous for that. And so I was always trying to keep the children quiet and, keep them from upsetting him or whatever. So we tend to, as the codependent, deal with it in that way. We try to keep the peace, right? We try to keep everything calm, make sure everybody's happy. And especially, if you're a people pleaser, right, which a lot of us tend to be, that's also going to be the case is you're going to be running around trying to make sure everything's calm and good for them. And then a lot of times post breakup, we're not in that people pleasing mode anymore, right? But then we're still dealing with the fact that if we don't behave in that way, we endure the wrath, right? And what I'm going to tell you about this is that's a wrath you have to endure. Now, I'm not saying that you have to actively press back on them all the time. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. But I think just opting out of the conflict and just opting out of this game of theirs, so to speak, this emotional warfare will make them angry. They want to control things. They want to control the process. And so they're going to ramp up when you start, drawing your boundaries and disengaging and doing things that protect you and protect the children. And you're not running around trying to people please or trying to walk on eggshells and make the other person happy all the time. That is going to make them angry and that's going to ramp them up. That's a form of confronting them, right? But if you're lucky enough to have other people in your life, and I actually have a client that I was talking to about this evening, is that she had one of her child's coaches of an extracurricular activity kind of confronted the other parent, confronted dad on some of the issues. And it's like, no, dad, you can't come in here and take over and do this and do that. And so that coach actually kind of wrote a little framework of rules, kind of like a little parameter of like what the rules were of how things flowed or whatever, because dad's behavior was disruptive enough in this situation that it affected the other kids and the extracurricular event and all this kind of thing. So the coach kind of said, hey, like, you can be here. Okay. Like, you can come and watch your kid and whatever, but here's the parameters of what that's going to look like when you're here. That particular narcissist got very, very angry and did not really take that take that guidance well, I will say. And they got very angry at the person. Okay. And really, I think didn't want the child to participate in this extracurricular anymore, even though mom still supported it. But frankly, the child's old enough and the child enjoys it themselves enough that the child can say, look, I really want to do this. And so that was very hard for dad to be able to kind of save face with the child and save face in, with the coach and all that kind of stuff. So there was like competing things going on that caused dad to kind of go, okay, what do I do? I don't know what to do in this situation. And so eventually what dad did is, he withdrew for a while. For a while, he wasn't around the extracurricular and didn't participate. But then when he did start coming back around, he actually followed the parameters. Okay. But that coach in the first instance had to have the wherewithal not to be afraid of whatever threats and whatnot that dad threw out, because there were threats. Oh, well, if you do that, I'm going to sue you and do this and do that and whatever. And, most people will buckle under that. And that's what a narcissist counts on. They count on you and everybody else around them buckling to their threats or their bluster or whatever they throw out there, because frankly, their whole lives, that's what people have done. Right. And so when we can stop doing that and actually say, hey, what that coach essentially did is say, hey, here are the boundaries. Okay. And they weren't nasty about it. They weren't, they put it in writing and sent it so that it was very clear and there was no ambiguity, and they were very kind in the letter. And hey, I know you want to be here and support your kid and whatever, and we're fine with that. But there's some things that have happened in the past that have maybe been a little disruptive to everybody. So for everyone's comfort, here's how this is going to work in the future, right? And again, you may not be lucky enough to have a third party that does that, but I think that you're more likely to have that when you kind of step back and let things happen and let that person's true colors show, whether it's mom or dad, whatever you're dealing with, their true colors will usually eventually show to other people because they react emotionally and they can only control that to a certain point. And so a lot of times they will have some incident or they will blow or something that causes other people to kind of see, and it exposes them for who they are, right? It pulls that mask off. But if we're constantly running around still people pleasing and doing all the things and walking on eggshells and saying to other people, oh, well, don't say anything to the other parent because that's just going to upset them, or we're trying to control all those things, then really we're kind of working against ourselves, right? Because then you're telling other people, oh, fall in line with this and behave the way that I behave so that we never see disruption or anger or whatever from the other parent. And really you want to expose that, but exposing it is scary because you've lived this whole relationship not exposing it. Not only not exposing it, but trying to avoid it, right? Trying to prevent it. You've gone your whole relationship trying to prevent confronting them. That's essentially what codependence is you go through and you do all the things that you think you need to do to keep the peace and maintain and all those kinds of things. We can't be afraid of then shifting into this mode where we're confronting them, because if we continue to do what we've done in the past, then you're living in the same hell that you've been living in the whole time, right? Then why are you getting out of the relationship? Then you've just still got all the bad without any of the good that was probably there, right? But the bad is so bad that you said, I can't do this anymore. I need out. Well, if you need out, then let's be out. And that means confronting them when needed and trying to expose them. That's part of the agenda. And are they going to be angry? Yes, probably. Are they going to attack you? Yes, probably. Accept that up front. accept up front that no matter what you do and what you say, they are going to attack you. That's who they are. So there's not any stopping that. There's only learning to not let that penetrate your soul, right? There's only learning how to emotionally rise above that and how to know in your own empowerment and your own self-confidence that the issue is them and that they're angry because you're actually starting to establish healthy boundaries and healthy ways of dealing with them. And they don't like that because they want to continue their manipulation of you because that benefits them. So if you'd like to learn more about these techniques and how I can help you in dealing with your narcissistic ex, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There's a link on that page. You can book a time to speak to a member of my staff and learn about my services and how I might be able to support you on this journey. See you guys next time.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon.